Hello everybody, and welcome to the 2024 Year in Review. I know, you've waited all year for this, so have I. It's the best time of year for me. I get to talk about the things I love in less detail than I usually would, and in a format that genuinely makes me want to die because it's so hard to fit everything into a top 10. This year was crazy. It was full of so much amazing, wonderful media. I genuinely struggled to fit it into this top 10 style that I do like and I love. But I was determined, and I unfortunately had to make a lot of sacrifices. Things either got booted to honorable mentions or they won't really be talked about. And for that, I'm sorry. And if I don't talk about something that you loved from this year, well, first off, I probably loved it and either just didn't have time, or like I said, honorable mentions, or the more likely answer, I probably just didn't watch or read it or play it. My bad. Same rules as always this time around, except we got a slight little tweak. We are going to strictly stick to things that came out this year. I'm going to stay with this for the foreseeable future because it is way too hard to try to fit all of these things that I saw for the first time this year into this list. They might, if they were good enough, get a little mention in the honorable mentions, but they will not be part of the actual list. So I still tried to keep a pretty even spread as well this time of movies, games, anime, manga, TV shows. Except I didn't have a single show this time. Not a one. I need to be more normal and watch TV. Like the white boy I am. This year I really got cooking for some action, some fist fights, some bar brawls. And I watched all of John Wick, started the Mission Impossible series. A lot of just straight up action, good, turn your brain off stuff. And it's safe to say I loved all of it. And Monkey Man carries that exact same soul simply for the love of the game. Just straight up hands because they can. This is action movie of the year. This movie has some of the most creative camera work of the year easily, and by far the best action of the year. It was just so inventive and fluid, very grounded, felt like real ass martial arts, just so cool. It also is just a great story about self-discovery, carrying themes of grief and enlightenment, as it all takes great inspiration from the legend of Hanuman. It also has some incredible ways of showing this, and just some fantastic metaphors, flashback scenes. It's just got some great visual storytelling. One of my favorite pieces of trivia about this movie was just how it was made. It was made by Dev Patel, one of the most talented people in the industry right now, and there was a slight setback during production. I'm sure you've all heard of it, but he broke one of his hands very, very early on, and this was not good because this was made on a very, very tight schedule and pretty tight budget. It was kind of a passion project, so they'd had no time for Dev Patel, who just broke his hand, main star of the movie, to wait or to heal. So they just kind of kept going, and you can see throughout the entire movie him just not using that hand or creatively working a way around it. And it's so cool because the action is still so good and makes it even better because you just know how creative they had to get to work around that thing. It's so good. Oh my god. Safe to say, I love this movie. It has one of the best training sequences in any movie I've ever seen, and that is coming from the world's #1 Rocky fan. It's just such a good, solid movie. It has some issues, just general stuff, nothing crazy. That's why it's at 10, but I do love this movie so much. It's so good. It had a lot to say, and it said it. And really, I can't ask for anything more. This is horror. Alien Romulus is so good. I watched the entire Alien franchise for the first time ever this year in preparation for this movie, and I am so glad I did. There's some great, fantastic movies in here. There's some not great fantastic movies in here. But I don't care because it was all worth this movie right here. This is so good. It's got the lead badass hot woman. It's got the that guy. It's got the aliens. It's so good. It's got some of the most creative usage of practical effects. It is terrifying. So good top to bottom.
I'm going to be honest. This is the only Alien movie that has a very solid cast all around. And this helps this movie so much. The horror and set design, themes, plot, all of that stuff is fantastic. But what really sets this movie apart from the other Alien movies for me is the fact that it isn't just the main lead that's like good. Alien 1 and 2 are fantastic. Ripley is amazing, and there are some good side characters in all of them, but it's not really fleshed out. Like, they're about Ripley and kind of only really her, except the second one kind of. But in this movie, there is a full, very well written out group of characters that are in this movie together, and it adds some great character tension that allows for horror to build a little easier. It allows for more tension in dangerous situations. Just a very, very stark improvement for me, at least, as I binged these movies and then got to this one. It was a noticeable thing that I really enjoyed. So if that is ever something that you've ever thought about, maybe Alien isn't that great, well, try this one out. I do stand by the Alien movies, except a couple of them. But, like, they're good. They're really good movies. But this just has some of the better body horror in the movies, has some of the coolest xenomorph activity in any of them. They're just really creepy, and they're just good. I don't know. And, like, the practical effects, dude. Dude. Oh, so good. It's just some great sci-fi bullshit. God, I love Aliens.
Spoilers if you haven't seen Alien Romulus. But the last thing I want to talk about is the final, probably 20 minutes. Some of the best horror I have ever seen in my entire life. Just the way the entire tone, themes, feel of the movie just completely shifts out of nowhere. So good. In a way that flows and makes sense, not just for scare factor, but something that practically feels like it should have happened, especially with all this previous knowledge of previous movies. It's just so good. And the first look that you get of the alien baby thing, when it's peering from across the room out of the... oh my god. It is one of the most disgusting looking monsters I've ever seen. And it almost, in a way, defies the horror rule. The rule that once you see the monster, it gets a little less scary. I don't agree. I think this monster is so well designed, so close to a human uncanny valley type thing, that when you see it, it just fills you with the most pitiful, deep dread anything in any of these movies has. It is so good. It feels like something out of Outcast or fucking Until Dawn. It's just so amazing. And this alone got it this spot on this list. But of course, the entire movie beforehand was amazing as well. But just fantastic stuff. So, I know you probably can't tell, but I am a hopeless romantic. And We Live in Time was one of my favorite movies from this year. Who doesn't have a crush on Florence Pugh? Who doesn't have a crush on Andrew Garfield? The pure, just screen chemistry coming from these two without any kind of good script or anything. Immediate, amazing movie. But it was followed with fantastic story, themes, just a great culmination of a really tender and sweet message that they're trying to get across here.
So, We Live in Time is something that I don't really think fits into anything I've really talked about on this channel. Maybe I'm forgetting, maybe I didn't look back close enough, but I don't think I've ever really talked about, at least a live action romance / sad thing like this. But that's because really I don't care about talking about the actual structure of the movie, although I do think it was very obviously well paced, shot, acted, of course, all that stuff. But there's a specific thing I want to talk about here and why this movie is in this list, because I watch a lot of things. I do a lot of things. So why is this movie here? Well, to me, it's two things. One, the abrupt ending that I just adored. A lot of people didn't. I really liked it. It shows the finite nature that the entire movie was talking about with Florence Pugh's character's life and all this stuff, whatever. Cool. Really awesome. And it left me thinking about this movie for a long time afterwards. The second thing, the most important thing, the biggest thing, the reason this is here, is what this movie had to say. This movie is about the feeling of us as people and how we are a culmination of everyone that has ever loved us or that we have loved. And this movie shows that in such a fantastic and thoughtful and particular way. The main character's real problem, as said in the movie, is how she doesn't want to be remembered as just somebody's fucking mom or as just whatever. She is a multitude of things. She's a chef. She's a mom. She used to be a figure skater. She's all of these things. She is a person. She has things. And death is scary. Are all of those things gone? Are they just memories now when she's dead? Blah, 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 whatever. And something that I've always thought about me personally in my life is how I want to be remembered, not as in this grandiose, fantastic way, but in the little things. How the ending of this movie gave to us the simple answer as what it thinks is the meaning of being alive and the meaning of death and what is it all worth. And the fact that Andrew Garfield's character now breaks eggs in the same way that she taught him to in the beginning of their relationship together. And I know that seems so stupid to some people, and I am a hopeless romantic, but it's not even about that. It's about how we are a culmination of who we love and who we've met. And that message really, really, really sat with me for a long time and really made me think about who I am and who I want to be remembered, whatever, you know. Because are you really alive if you're not remembered for everything that you are? No. That's stupid. Of course you are. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. And you will be remembered. Well, it might not be everything about you. It might not be what your favorite color was exactly, whatever. Even if you don't really have anybody in particular in life, there's going to be something that you gave to somebody that will be remembered. And I don't know if that's just me, but that's some of the most beautiful shit that I've ever heard.
Few movies ever leave me this upset. You know, I love movies, obviously, but it is hard for me to get to that point with any movie, even like The Notebook or something crazy. But this movie, it got me there because it was this peer into these real people's lives that just felt completely unlike anything I've ever really seen. It had a different take on this kind of thing. I might be a little uncultured when I say that, but I just feel like it had a different take on growing in love and family coming together, stuff like that. And I just really liked it. And it was really, really depressing. I love video games. We all know this, but we also all know that my type of video game is a long story RPG type thing. Red Dead Redemption, the Persona series, Spider-Man, God of War, things like that. You know, I love games that really enrapture you, take you on a journey, teach you something. I also used to love Overwatch when I was 13. And nothing has really given me that feeling, in a multiplayer game. I play Fortnite sometimes, who doesn't? I'll admit it. It's not because I like the game, it's an easy game to play with friends, that kind of thing. But Marvel Rivals is the first multiplayer game that I have played like that ever, where I wished to play it by myself. Even when I was in my Overwatch phase, I played that shit with friends only. And, I had fun, sure, but Marvel Rivals has something else. It's just so fun. I love that game. It feels cared about. It feels like there's a lot of love and passion and just drive that went into making it. It's constantly getting updates. It feels so refined. It was announced this year and came out this year. That's unheard of. Marvel Rivals is some of the most fun I've ever had with friends in a multiplayer game before. Way more than Overwatch ever did, so I don't care that it's an Overwatch copy. I don't care. I think it has a lot more going into it. I think it has a lot more that it has to stay as a game, honestly. Overwatch might have started it. Marvel Rivals took it to the next level. Like, so many people are playing this game, and that's not for no reason. If you haven't played it, go play it. It's the first game I've ever played that has ever made me want to play a healer. So, pretty good at it too, so. Sometimes a piece of media comes along that just shifts something in you. It wasn't a big shift. I've already read Look Back before, but the fact that it could still make that change, that shift again, in a story I've already read, experienced a long time ago that did mean a lot to me when I read it, simply by elevating it with the art form that it was given to me to, it says a lot. I wasn't even going to put this on this list. Not that I'm really thinking that far ahead at any given time, but when it was about to come out, I was like, this is not really going to be a contender for this year, a video or this year in review, anything like that. It wasn't the vibe. I didn't think it would be anyway. But then I watched it, and it was so good.
I love anime. I love anime movies. I love when things can take you on a wild journey in under an hour and a half, maybe a little more sometimes, maybe 3 hours. I don't know. But in 55 minutes, this adaptation of Tatsuki Fujimoto's one-shot manga, it took me on about 5 journeys, and it shot me out back at least 3 times because it's so good. It's so pretty to look at. Beautiful animation, music, consistent with Fujimoto's art style, something that you do not see. That's like so hard to do in any anime, let alone somebody whose art style is as unique as Fujimoto's. But even any anime, it's hard to really stick to an artist's style. It is so impressive. And no, I am not one of those people that is trying to say the Chainsaw Man anime looks bad. I love how that looks. It's amazing. I just also love this adaptation of his art. It is amazing. It is consistent, and it works so well with the story that it's telling here.
We know how much I love something that can elevate the source material, obviously, but it's rare that it happens to this degree. I think this is such a fantastic take and look into the mind of Tatsuki Fujimoto, who's one of the best manga that is working today, and I stand by that. Chainsaw Man haters can leave, but I still struggle to put it higher up simply because I do think it was taken a little bit back by the fact I've already read it. I know that sounds probably kind of stupid, but I've already read it, I've already experienced this story, and I feel like it's not something that should go a little higher, but it is something that I loved and meant a lot to me. As somebody who loves to create art, can't really draw, but you know what I mean. And it's a fantastic story, coming of age. It's just great shit. And if you haven't seen it, it's only like 55 minutes. Please go watch Look Back. And it got fucking robbed at every single awards. at every single award in this award season, just by the way. But some things just have the sauce. And Kagurabachi is one of those things. So I did mention this last year, and this may feel like it's kind of breaking my rules, but it is. It has been releasing all year, and most of it has come out this year. Because when I did talk about it, it made it fucking number 8 last year, and had maybe 1 arc and a half out at the time. And in this past year, 2024, Kagurabachi has really stepped it up. It has made a name for itself, and has become one of my favorite things that has ever come out of the book of Shonen Jump.
Chihiro is so much more than what I called him last year. I referred to him as the silent type, and I see now that that cannot be further from the truth. He is cool, but he's also soft and contemplative, as well as so stubborn and driven by this intangible will that I love in a good protagonist. He's just so cool, and he's also beginning to look like a cat now. This series is full of fantastic action choreography, some of the best paneling I've seen, all things that you have heard before, I have said before, but things I cannot just simply sit here and ignore. It's so good. It knows what it's trying to tell you, and it's really, really good at telling you. It's not overt, but it's also not subtle and, it's just flat out there for you to read if you choose to read into it. And it's so, so good. I love how this really does feel like the beginning of something bigger. I know it may seem I'm giving this a lot of special treatment or glazing it a lot, but that's because I am. I love the medium of manga, and you can ask any and everyone with the ending of so many greats in the past few years. We're all waiting for the next big hit, especially feeling like we'll never get another long-running shonen. I genuinely think Kagurabachi has picked up the pieces of this new era and made something so perfect and special right in the heart of it all. Bleeding together the styles of old with the fast-paced electric chemistry of the new and creates a feeling very few and far between can tap into. If you have not read Kagurabachi, if you like manga at all, please. Every single chapter is some of the most hype shit ever. There's always like an it panel in every single chapter that just you page turn and you're like, holy shit. How did he do that? It happens every single time. It is so good. Please read Kagurabachi.
I love Kagurabachi. I have a lot of hopes for it in the future. I hope great things come from it. It really seems like it is building up for something that is just bigger and better than we can ever dream of. A lot of people will worry, it's going to be short, it's going to get cut short, whatever. I think it's here to stay, at least for a while, and that makes me so, so happy. So, if you're a fan of manga at all, please go check out Kagurabachi. I believe it has an anime coming out either this year or early next year, something like that. So it is going to be in the global viewpoint pretty soon, and I am very happy to say that I have been on that train since day one. I love Dune. I'm sorry. I'm really not that sorry, but I love Dune. It's so good. I love Dune 1. I don't have a lot to say. It's Dune. I mean, come on. The experience of watching Dune 2 in theaters for the first time was really something incredibly special. And I feel like a lot of people have kind of forgotten that Dune 2 came out this year, or forgotten how amazing it was for some reason. I don't know how. But the feeling of watching Dune 2 in theaters, completely blind, for the first time, can only feel how I imagine watching Empire Strikes Back felt in 1981 or whatever. It is the exact same feeling of, as I'm watching this, I feel like I'm watching an epic that has just transpired right in front of my eyes. The change in Paul Atreides in the end was one of the best things I've ever seen put to screen. Feeling that and going through the motions with him, it is so good. And I can't wait for Dune Messiah. And I'm so upset that Dune 2 got absolutely cut the Academy this year. It's fine. Now I'm going to talk about some honorable mentions, because there is a lot. To start off with what we have always talked about for the past fucking 4 years on this channel. My Hero, One Piece, and JJK. Obviously, JJK and My Hero this year didn't end. And JJK already made a video on the ending. I adored it. I love this series. My Hero, one day, I'll make a video on that. But we'll save that for later. And One Piece, I mean, it's fucking One Piece. Finally made it to Elbaf. It's just One Piece. It's always going to be here. We're always going to talk about it. You know that. Kind of sad to see them go. We'll talk about One Piece next year, obviously, but, you know, no more My Hero. No more JJK. Also, Dawn to Dawn, I talked about last year. It did make it to the top 3. I was going to put it in this list, but I struggled enough putting things in there, and it made it to the top 3 last year. So I thought I should just put it off, especially because Season 2 is coming out in July, and I'm probably going to make a video around that time about Dawn to Dawn. So just here's that little shout out. This year it was amazing, and it was the first year I have been reading it weekly, and oh my god, it's so good. I played Balatro this year about 3 times, and each of those 3 times I think was about for 8 hours each, so I had to delete it. So here's that shout out. There was a lot of anime movies in theaters this year, and I, for some reason, just did not want to talk about any of them in the top 10. So here we go. Haikyuu, Battle of the Garbage Dump. Really, really good. I missed Haikyuu. It's been a long time. My Hero movie was amazing. Deku giving him that fucking 1-2 combo, Delaware, Detroit, Texas, whatever. Hard. I watched 2 older anime movies in theaters this year. One, Gurren Lagann, All the Lights in the Sky Are Stars movie re-released in America with the dub. Really, really good. I love Gurren Lagann, we know this, so, you know. I also saw Evangelion, End of Evangelion, in theaters this year. We can all guess how that went. Twisters was good. Not good enough to put on the list, but I did really like it. Sakamoto Days, I have not fully caught up on yet, but I finally started reading that recently. It's really, really good, and it will probably be talked about next year. And the anime just started coming out, so check that out if you haven't. And so I didn't put this in the list for a lot of reasons. It broke a lot of rules, and I kind of just want to make a video on it at some point. But I watched Vinland Saga this year. Wow. Yeah, a couple more. Joker 2 was fucking awful. And The Wild Robot and Sonic 3 were some of the other great movies I saw in theaters this year. I don't even like Sonic, but like, Shadow's cool as fuck. I like Sonic, but I'm not like a Sonic fan. I'm not, I swear. Please don't cut We all know I love the Persona games, and Persona 3 Reload came out this year, and it was so good. I had never played the original Persona 3. I had watched like YouTube playthroughs way back when, and so I knew the whole story. I knew everything that happened, but playing it for myself was different. It was different.
I've talked about the Persona series before, so obviously we all know that I love these games. I love a game that immerses you and makes you feel something. Something that only 80 hours of your real life time put into can make you feel. The only bad thing I can say about Persona 3 Reload is that the original's vibes are better, but that's not this game's fault. You simply cannot recreate the vibes of the PS2 easily. It's just impossible. So basically everything else is a dramatic improvement. This game is not as spectacular, in my opinion, as Persona 5 The Royal, but it is amazing. Its combat is fantastic. Its characters and story and themes are heavy and so good. And the final stretch of this game, while again, not as amazing as Persona 5 The Royal, did do something to me. Spoilers, of course, but at the end, when the protagonist fucking universe one-shots literal death itself, I don't know if I've ever truly been that hype at a gaming moment in my entire life. This year we also got Persona 3 Reload Episode Aegis, or The Answer is what it was called in the PS2 version. Basically just the epilogue, and that was absolutely amazing. I loved the dungeon crawling roguelike aspect of that one, and just overall these games are so fun to play. They're so fun to pour your time into and really learn the combat system, the characters, just everything. I love these games so much. Please go play a Persona game if you haven't. I have not played Metaphor yet, but I really want to. So yeah,
I understand why some people have a distaste for the Persona games, whatever, what have you. I get it. I do. But with such a fun mix of fantastic gameplay, characters, blah, 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 whatever, put into these incredibly long, dragged out stories, not dragged out in a bad way, dragged out in a way that immerses you, really just means something to me. And they always say something that is unique, something that isn't really found in a lot of other games, something that really hits home because you spend 100 hours as they slowly build up to this thing that they're trying to tell you right at the end. And then once it hits, you put together all of these countless hours in the back of your head at what they were trying to say. And it hits just that much harder. That is why I love the Persona games. That's why it's number 3. Absolutely coming out of nowhere this year is the best piece of horror media I think I have ever seen in my entire life. And yes, this might be recency bias. No, it's not. Nosferatu.
I saw a review that called this a psychosexual horror masterpiece, or something along those lines. And I thought that was a little silly, but also immediately was incredibly hyped for this movie. And now I can safely say they were right. Nosferatu is one of, if not the best horror movie I have ever seen. And no, this is not recency bias. I have seen this movie 3 times, and it got better every single time. This movie has horror, it has tragedy, it has tension, it is sexual, it's got feminist, masculine, crazy themes, top to bottom. One of the most Shakespearean ass movies I have ever seen. I honestly do struggle to call it a horror movie and say it is my favorite horror movie of all time, because I don't see it as a horror movie. Like, it is terrifying, but in a tragedy way. Like I said earlier, a Shakespearean way. I love every single actor in this movie. Every single actor put on the best performance of a lifetime. I have no idea how Lily Rose Depp does that with her body in multiple scenes. She is horrifying to watch in such an enthralling way. I adore Nicholas Hoult and Willem Dafoe. Just everybody was fantastic. The shadows and the use of lighting in this movie as well are just amazing. There's so many instances where these shadows are telling a story, whether that be from Count Orlok himself or maybe the character shadows in the background. Something I noticed in my second and third watches are just, they're always so dramatic and telling a story. Sometimes even with Lily Rose Depp's character, you can see that her shadow is just disformed. You know, it really playing into the themes of this movie. There's so much deep uncomfortableness etched in this movie in such a fantastic way, and such a wonderful look at this one particular woman's sexuality and her own guilt that comes along with that. The only real thing I can say about this movie to really bat home why this movie is amazing, and if you have not seen it, please, for the love of God, go watch Nosferatu and then come back and watch this part. But the final shot of this movie is fucking amazing. The entire movie is building up to this one moment with Nicholas Hoult running back defeatedly, knowing that he just got tricked, to hit the love of his life, sacrificing herself to kill this plague. And the way that the sun comes into the room and starts to just horrifically kill Count Orlok, yet so beautifully too. It is awful to watch, yet I could not take my eyes off of it because of the pure sunshine that peered through. And then the final shot of them laying on each other, flowers cast around them. It is just magnificent. Just magnificent.
I hope I've guided you as to why Nosferatu is the best thing that's ever come out in recent time. It is so lovingly and carefully crafted in a way that few things are, ever. And I just simply cannot fathom how somebody doesn't like this movie. Well, I can. It's weird, for sure. It's so good. And it didn't need AI to do anything. Bill Skarsgård did not need AI to pull off this fantastic voice or this fantastic appearance. The practical effects team, dude. Makeup, come on! I watched it like 3 times this year in theaters. And I cannot wait to see it again. Every single time I do, I notice more and more and more. And it just gets better and better and better. Ha ha ha. James is breaking his rule again. I know. But this year, legendary mangaka Akira Toriyama passed away. And it affected me in a way that I didn't think a mangaka's death could. Kentaro Miura is the closest I could think of, but as sad as that was, it didn't really affect me. It made me sad. I love Berserk, but it wasn't like a... What I mean is this. When Akira Toriyama died, and I went out to work that day, there were people just talking about it. In America, in a relatively small city in North Carolina, in America, talking about the death of a Japanese manga artist. And I know that might not sound weird, but these were not people that you would expect to. These were not people that I went out and read manga with, watched anime with. These are just normal people that knew this man's creation. It felt like as if a Hollywood star had just passed. That is so wild to me. Because I, before having gone out for the day, hearing the news, cried. And I didn't know why. I couldn't fathom why I would cry over the death of a man I did not really know. And then when I went out and I heard these people talking about it, I understood. This was not just some author of Dragon Ball Z, not some author of Dr. Slump, character designer for Dragon Quest, no. This was a man who had so much care and love and whimsical nature to his art that he touched so many people, whether they knew it or not. Final Fantasy, One Piece, fucking any animated thing ever since 1980 has some kind of direct line to something Toriyama did. This was not just a simple manga. This was something that was representing the entire country of Japan for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. This. I can understand why it might seem weird. Why I so strongly still, 8 months later, feel so strongly. Especially after having, I don't think once, talked about Dragon Ball on this channel. The channel that I solely use as a way to talk about the things I love. And I've never even mentioned Dragon Ball. That doesn't mean shit. Because Dragon Ball was everything to me. Dragon Ball was the first ever anime I watched. It was really the first ever show I watched. My older brother put that on when I was probably 2.5 years old. And I watched Dragon Ball Z Kai on Nicktoons up until 5th grade every week. My first game was Dragon Ball Budokai 3. First game I ever truly played and beat by myself was Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi. And 2. And 3. These were things that were so deeply ingrained into who I was as a kid that when my brother and I were playing with Hero Factory action figures as kids, we weren't throwing them around and shouting lightning attacks or fire attacks. No. We made these fucking robots go Super Saiyan. We made these robots do Kamehamehas and blow each other's arms off and throw them across the room. And I know I'm not alone in that. They did it to Sonic. The pure amount of passion, the pure amount of things that would not be what they were without this man is unfathomable. And I really urge you, if you haven't or don't know, to just look a little bit into it and how much the entire current scope of animation, gaming, fucking movies are because of him. Few and far between are there people with so much passion and care. And this year I finally read the Dragon Ball manga for the first time. And honestly, I'm really upset I didn't do it sooner. Because I see that story in a much, much higher light than I already did. Dragon Ball was the kind of thing I never even put in rankings of manga or anime because it was just in a league of its own. I didn't need to say, oh, well, my number one's One Piece, but well, it's actually Dragon Ball, because no. It was off in its own little Hall of Fame. It doesn't need to be in conversations for gold. It cemented itself in my mind, my heart, and so many other people's for all of eternity. So, yeah. I love Dragon Ball. I love Daima. I love Sparking Zero. There was a lot this year for us Dragon Ball fans. Ooh, God, there's a lot of us Dragon Ball fans. A personal example that I have for the power that Dragon Ball had is I am the anime guy in my friend group. I am the guy that watches, plays those games, whatever. You know. But two of my best friends, before we ever met, two of the straightest, normalist white guys you've ever met. They watch fucking football and movies, and that's it. They played Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi when they were kids. And they knew exactly who I was talking about when I mentioned this. They've never seen the show, but they know it. Because they picked it up at Blockbuster one day and just played the shit out of that game together. And it seems a little stupid, yeah. But everybody, in one way or another, knows what this is. What this story means. And yeah. I fucking love it. Thank you all so much for joining me in the 2024 year in review. This year was amazing. I had a lot of fun making the videos that I made. I know it was a little bit less than usual, but I hope you all enjoyed the Godzilla videos. So much fun to make. And I'm really glad to be finally getting into a rhythm and hopefully coming out with videos a little bit more regularly, hopefully a little bit more fluidly, and hopefully a little bit bigger, like the Godzilla video, because I loved that and I want to keep doing that. And yeah, just thank you all for sticking by and watching and enjoying talking to me about stuff. So, yeah. I think we've had enough sap this video, and I usually end these off pretty disgustingly. So, I think we're just gonna end it. Yeah. See y'all next year.